Primary Practice. Welcome to episode 1 in our series of 8 in that Get That Job series. Your studies are over. Congratulations on getting your QTS. And now we've got to start to get organised on finding you a job. It's not as simple as it sounds, and to be quite honest, you do have to be organised and have some sort of structure to this. It isn't just a matter of looking in various sources from time to time and applying to send off for a post, and then one will magically turn up. It won't. It is very much a numbers game, but there are various specifics that are going to perhaps limit your choice of jobs. But let's look at it from the top and just see the sorts of things that you're going to actually have to think about before you can start working out what sort of jobs you're going to apply to and whereabouts they're going to be. The first thing is what age group or what key stage have you actually either specialised in or done your teaching practices on? Now, I've heard from quite a few colleagues who say, oh, I'm for an interview next week, or I'm for an interview tomorrow, and it's for a Key Stage 1 job, but I'm not really sure about Key Stage 1 because I've done all my practices in Key Stage 2. Very difficult to actually justify your choice of going for an age group or a key stage that you haven't really had much experience in. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say it's perhaps a waste of time. It would be a waste of time, for instance, me applying for a reception post or even year 1, because I've no experience of teaching in those year groups and I really can't justify my application. And there's going to be far more qualified and specialised people than me applying for the post, and even if I got an interview, at the interview itself. So decide where your strengths are, because based on what you prefer and based on your teaching practices, that's going to be the strength behind your application. So narrow it down. If you're Key Stage 2, great. If you're Key Stage 1, great. If you've done both on your practices, then choose which one you felt most comfortable with and go for that. Don't just fire them off for any job that seems to be coming up. The second thing is whereabouts do you want to teach? Now, depending on your personal circumstances, these can either open up job opportunities or restrict them. If you're married, if you come into teaching late, if you have a family, if you have children, you're going to be restricted to whereabouts you're living now. Because otherwise, you're going to have to uproot everything and move it to where perhaps you may get a job. And to be quite honest, as an NQT, that's not really worth it. And you're certainly not going to get paid relocation payments or anything like that. If you're not married, if you don't have anything that's holding you down, then I would say you could actually have a look at whichever areas in the country you would like to teach in. And it's certainly the case based on last year's results that some areas of the country, and quite nice areas to live in, had quite a lot of jobs that were free. And so for somebody who's perhaps single, who hasn't got those ties, then you've got more of a choice where you can select where you want to be. Now, I'm going to talk specifically for people who are perhaps a little bit more limited here and say, if you are based in a particular area, you can't just be looking for a job that is going to be within walking distance of home. You know yourself that those sort of jobs are going to be very, very difficult. Certainly keep your eyes open for a job that's going to be very local, but just how far do you or can you actually look outside for a post that's travelable? Well, To be quite honest, I've had 2 jobs in my career where I've travelled quite long distances. One of them I actually drove, and it was 40 miles each way. Now, that seems quite a long way to travel, and indeed it is, and it does cost quite a lot to do, to actually get to work and back again. But it was actually a school I wanted to teach in, and so because I was fixed on where I was, I had the option of either not going to that school or actually travelling to get to that school, and travel I did. You do get used to this sort of distance. The second one, I actually had to travel on the train to get into Birmingham, and then out again on a short train to get to the school. And it was actually taking me perhaps an hour and a half each way to get to that job. Now, both of these are doable. Yes, it does make your day start early. Yes, it does add on at the end of the day. And you have to build in some sort of flexibility. For instance, in the Birmingham job that I had, I used to mark my set of books. I only had 1 set of books at the end of the day. Mark my set of books on the way home and plan for the day on the way in. So when I actually got home, the time with my family was family time. Now for the one where I had to drive, obviously I couldn't be working at that time. However, it probably took me between 50 minutes and an hour to get there. So the time wasn't too onerous. So if you are fixed in one location, try opening up your search area, perhaps to 10, 15, 20, 25 miles from where you are each way, and it is perfectly doable. So don't limit yourself too narrow. Otherwise, the number of jobs coming up that potentially are for you becomes very small. So do widen it out. And as I say, it may sound a long way, but you soon get into the way of it. And for those people, again, I've said, who are able to be mobile, if you want to look in your home area, of course, by all means do. But if you're completely mobile, well, hey, maybe you'd like to teach in Cumbria in the Lake District. Maybe you'd like to come further south. Cambridgeshire, where I live, is a fabulous place to live and teach. But the further south you come, then of course, renting places, etc. becomes more expensive. If you want to teach in London, then there are inner London and outer London extra payments that go on top. So that does offset that a little bit. But if you're completely free on where you want to go, research the areas that you're thinking of living in. In fact, you could go on to things like Rightmove or Zoopla, have a look at house and rental prices in those areas just to get a feel for it. So this is the subject of the first video that we're having. It's only very short. It's let's get organised. Which age group do we want to teach? Where do we want to be? And let's think about the distance from home, travelable distance, and perhaps travel times as well. So from this video, you can now make your start to pull things together, and let's start on getting organised. In the second video, we'll look in a little bit more detail about the sort of places you can look to discover the jobs and the sort of things, the criteria that you're looking for in a school. But that's all for video 1. Thank you for tuning in. Catch you on video 2.